Hey, you there. Thank you for watching, and welcome to Forge Lines Forever. Today, I have a 6v6 custom match here on the most amazing Neuroxis map generator. Let's go ahead and introduce our teams and our players, starting off with Team 1 up here in the northwest, ending with Team 2 in the southeast, starting off with Team 1, the southernmost player in Pac-Man Yellow. We have RGBBCMG going first line as a Seraphim is a 1200. Tours North in Chevy Crimson. We have Just Awesome going first line as another Seraphim. Him for Team 1, he is a 1400. In the middle for Team 1, we have I Make War on You going first line as an Aeon. He is a 1900. The highest rate to play on Team 1 and in the game overall. To his east and Barbie Pink, we have Master Mandel going first line as an Aeon as well. He is a 1500. In Light Oak 10 to his northwest, we have Just Q going first line as a Cybran. He is a 1600. And to his west in the regard slot here for Team 1, it is Just One to Die going first air as a Cybran. He is an 1100 in Emerald Green. Over Team 1 side of the map, they have 2 Seraphim, 2 Aeon, and 2 Cybran, which means Team 1 lacks Aeon technology. Starting off with Team 2's westernmost player in Royal Blue, we have Noob Dragoon going first line as a UEF. He is a 1200. And just as a note, every time I see his name, I want to say Dragon, but I have to do the Dragoon, like little curling of the R, just to remind myself that it is 2 O's, not 1 O. And he's also going second air. To his southeast, another UEF here for Team 2. It is Legend Lord 2 going first land. He is in Rust as a 1500. In the middle here for Team 2, we have in Ruby Red MSG going first land as a Cybran. He is a 1700, the highest rated player on his team of Team 2. In Snow White to his northeast, we have Yerfmeister going first land as another UEF here for Team 2. He is a 1500. In Batman Greb, we have Prince of Wrath going first land as a Cybran as a 1600 going first land. And the rear guard slot here for Team 2 is a Seraphim. He is Squealer going first land, second air, and he is a 1200 in lightish red pink. So for Team 2 side of the map, they have 3 UEF, 2 Cybran, and 1 Seraphim, which means Team 2 lacks Aeon technology. Of course, as a reminder, Team 1 lacks a UEF technology. And for 12 players on the map, how much reclaim do they have to scoop up? They're sitting at 38,000 reclaim, which means it's slightly over 3,000 mass per player, which is a ton of mass to scoop up in this game. And 7,000 of that, actually a little bit more than that, is down here in the southwestern corner of the map. On the lower section of the map, and we do see there is a higher section plateau that I'll go over in a minute. There's also a decent amount, and most of it is in the middle. There's a little bit of pockets on the edges in terms of, Team 1 and Team 2. But most of it is near, cliff sides, mountains, that sort of thing, or kind of just in the middle of the map. So players are going to be fighting for that immediately. And in terms of mass point layouts here for Team 1 side of the map, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Trimex positions, 2 of which are on this upper plateau. So I would not be surprised to see 1, if not 2 players possibly go for this southern and western edge of the map. Like I said, there are 2 Trimex positions per side of the map, and of course it does have a nice little viewing angle on all of the reclaim down there, which means players are going to probably go for this immediately with Team 1's RGB already headed there as I speak. And with that out of the way, I mean, there's a before I go back to zero speed, there is a quad mechs, pseudo quad mechs. You can probably tell I did air quotes there. I actually did it with my hands as I said it. 1 player is going to grab this. You're not going to have 1 player on Team 1 and 1 player on Team 2, as an example, just fighting over whatever mechs. It's essentially going to be an all or nothing for one of these teams. So add that as a quad mechs-ish, but, I mean, it's not quote-unquote on Team 1 or Team 2 side of the map. It's essentially just there. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead to see where our players are headed to in this game. Obviously, they're going to be going for that reclaim. Team 1's player of RGB, as I stated, going for that 7,000 mass. We do see a transport already outbound from Legend Lord. Looks like it's just a couple of engineers. He wanted to get out immediately, trying to beat the rush of his opponents for going for that reclaim. We do see that RGB has sent one engineer with a nice little Selen and a nice little Tham to escort it. And the comm of Noob Dragoon is headed that way as well. So both players are going to get a decent amount of that reclaim, but we do see a transport with other engineers outbound here from first one to die. Maybe he will be the first one to die, who knows. And he's going to drop aggressively in front of that commander. Unfortunately, the commander obviously is going to see that, and those engineers are not going to last very long. But Noob Dragoon, it was already, setting up his reclaim orders. He does cancel that, kills off the engineers, moves on to something else. We do see those engineers, at least the rest of them on board, moving to the southwestern section of the map for that reclaim field that Team 2 is already scooping up. We do see that in the north, Team 2's Yerfmeister pushing against Team 1 ever so slightly. There's really nothing over there. It's just getting a nice little readout of what's going on that side of the map. Both of these players essentially just hanging out, reclaiming, not really worrying about a whole lot. And a nice little conga line of engineers outbound for MSG, just kind of reclaiming around the map. I do like the radar system online, giving them a little bit more knowledge of what's going on around them, specifically in the middle. I would like to see his comm probably put another radar facility either here, or even if they can manage it right here, being protected by that mountainside. I mean, unless there's some units over there that kind of nullifies that, but at least trying to use the environment to their advantage as a natural barrier. We do see that comm of RGB in that southwestern section of the map, getting some units online as well. Does have a nice little ghetto gunship. There is an archer nearby shooting that transport down. The transport does drop off those Selens. The transport will get shot down, unfortunately, for RGB, but he does land a couple of units to protect. T1 radar system will be built, but immediately be destroyed. Definitely unfortunate here for Legend Lord, but of course they do know that RGB's comm is there, so they're definitely going to start a plan of attack. Engineers also nearby for RGB, getting that first Trimex position online. Has not gone for the second one. Decided to go for the furthest one first and then work his way back. What that allows him to do is get as much mass as he can from as far away as he can, and then as he is pushed back, possibly he can fall back. He's already going to have these mexes already online. Now where he gets a little bit more value out of those very, very, very front line at mexes. Damage and range has been started for Yerfmeister's commander of the UEF variety, so he does, of course, benefit from the damage and range instead of the speed and range, making his shots ever more dangerous. We do see Prince of Wrath pushing with his commander into the north, and looks like it's going to be just Q and some forces outbound from Master Mandel versus Prince of Wrath and a couple of engineers from Yerfmeister. Team 2's MSG still holding position, getting a nice little facility online. Looks like he's probably busy doing other expansionary efforts in his main base. He has gone for air. Will we see T2? Probably not, with all of these T1 pigeons surrounding him. Also, there are no hydrocarbons, which means you don't get that immediate burst of power income. You have to build more individualized pigeons, which messes up people's build orders sometimes if they're not super, not up on their build orders. But essentially just changes the build order a little bit. Instead of just building 3 or 4 mexes and then the hydrocarbon, you have to essentially build a couple mexes, then a couple pigeons, then a couple mexes, and a couple pigeons to kind of balance out the energy costs. It just changes up the early build order just ever so slightly, but it's not a huge issue. We're talking about players from 11 to 1900, so they definitely know what they're doing. So no worries there. Gun speed and range has been started. Speaking of which, for MSG, that is almost done. So 2 comms on Team 2 have gun upgrades. Master Mandel does have a nice little T1 PD that he's building. He doesn't really have much of anything else online. Team 2 will easily be able to just stomp on forward. T2 has been started for Just Awesome in the middle with just one to die. First one to die hanging out next to him. And not really a lot of action yet, but units are starting to build up here for these 2 players in the southern and western edges of the map. We see it's Legend Lore versus RGB. Definitely makes sense because those players are the closest position to that plateau. But we do see a little bit of reinforcements outbound from Just Awesome, just to assist ever so slightly. He's not sending a whole lot up there, but just enough to kind of just, hey, there's a couple of units, I can give them to you or not. Might as well have them, that kind of thing. Those could make the difference between a successful defend or not. I mean, the game can change just by one unit's actions, essentially. Gun speed and range has been started for first one to die, so he's covering the offensive game. His teammate of Just Awesome's covering the defensive game. But as I stated earlier, Yerfmeister and MSG force Master Mandel back to his main base. Team 1 is experiencing an incursion by Team 2, and it does look like some units outbound that were made for the middle just for I Make War on You are being diverted to the east to deal with this incursion. And there's a lot of Team 1 units here. What this doubly does is it forces Team 1 back, forces them to build up more defenses, spend more mass, spend more APM, spend more time dealing with this, while Team 2 can start shifting to either T2 tech or even T3 air or T3 if they really want to just skip to T3 and not go for T2. I have seen that really make a huge difference, especially for players that prefer a highly offensive style. They try to push with as much Team 1 as they can. Try to blitz down T3 tech and then start spamming out T3 before their opponents can, and then barrel forward with that as well. It does hurt, of course, the T2 stage of land fights, so if your opponent is prepared for an incursion of T3, not the best situation. But just like this, we have a couple of PD being built. I mean, a couple of Perseus or even a couple of Titans would easily deal with this as an example, because one is UEF and one is Cybran as an example. And it might have some success, but with the comms very far forward here, I mean, it's only 10 minutes in the game, so they're going to be perfectly fine from any sort of air snipes, at least in terms of T3. There could be a bunch of Corsairs or other fighter bombers built up, but right now they're perfectly fine. One's building T2, the other one has gun. He has some engineers nearby building a shield, so he has a little bit of a fallback position. I wouldn't be surprised to see Yerfmeister build a nice little fire base in that Trimex position. In the east, we do see Just Q actually retreating from that line and going southward, noticing that it's a little bit more important that he holds this line, because if Team 2 pushes all the way north, he is isolated on the eastern side of the map, and these two comms could easily just wipe him out and walk him down very, very quickly, essentially cutting off any sort of escape route, either than transports or just getting very lucky with his movements around the map. I think you can walk over that, possibly. It looks a little rough, but I think you could walk through that little cavern, or that'd be a canyon, probably a little canyon over there. Advanced range has been started for Master Mandel. This will allow him to attack his opponents at range. Because Team 2 doesn't have any Aeon commanders whatsoever, he has the best range in the game for commanders. So he'll have a huge advantage with that Aeon Sniper Commander online. Will he go for shield, or will he go for Chrono Dampener? A case could be made for both, because there's a lot of T1 units here. But with those T2 units outbound from him, also pushing these forces back, there's a couple of Obsidians in there, so lots of hit points, both in the power stage or the shield and the hold plated hit points as well. Master Mandel pushing with Just Q. Again, Master Mandel does have advanced range, so he's able to attack those PD a lot more effectively. There are tickle cannons, so he's not super worried about them. But that overcharge definitely would have been a lot better placed had it not. I think it was on auto, possibly. I mean, he probably wanted to get that T1 Mechs or something, but it was probably just the first thing in his range. Another overcharge. He's constantly overcharging, blitzing down that shield, and getting a little bit of AoE with every overcharge. There he goes. Takes out the only PD that he's really worried about. And when they'll push in with some Asylums acting as his personal shield. And it's MSG versus Master Mandel here at 12 minutes on the clock. And Master Mandel really doing a lot of damage to MSG's commander. Again, Master Mandel now sitting at 1-star veterancy at 12,000 hit points versus MSG's 10,000. We do see that Master Mandel's really much focused on taking out the structures behind MSG's commander. Missile launcher does get taken out, and units outbound from Yerfmeister trying to assist with pushing back Master Mandel as well. But again, as long as Master Mandel can stay in range of MSG, I mean, he can essentially be in this kind of little limbo stage where he's attacking MSG, but MSG cannot attack him, at least with the comm directly We do have some more Obsidians coming in to reinforce Master Mandel. Again, Master Mandel really focusing on the Cerberus PD that have been built. And MSG is falling into the red, sub 2,000 hit points. It could be the first departure of the game. And there it is. Master Mandel earns the first kill of the game for his team at 12, almost 13 minutes. And Just Q did assist with that push, but that was mainly Master Mandel. He will continue to pressure Team 2. And that is the downside with pushing that far forward, is if your opponent builds up a lot of power, whether that be their comm, units, whatever the case may be, can really blitz you down. I feel like if MSG was Aeon, he probably would have a little bit of a better engagement had he had, of course, the advanced range that his opponent did. But even then, Master Mandel was well within the range of MSG, so there's really no escape for him at that point. And with those asylums that he built up to protect himself just in the initial stage of that fight, it really saved him, because he probably would have died if it wasn't for those asylums shaving off 3,500 points of damage. Missile launchers also outbound here for Nerfmeister to try to blitz down any sort of incursions. Of course, missile launchers aren't really that effective on moving targets, but targets are moving in a line. Those missiles will hit the targets behind them. And those missiles now directing their fire onto the Legion that's over here in the north. But the comm of Master Mandel blitzing those flapjacks down very, very carefully. He really likes pancakes, and he's enjoying his pancake buffet as we speak. In the Southwest, Team 1's RGB getting that nano upgrade on board that Seraphim Commander. He already has gun on board. Team 2's forces a decent amount of Mongoose outbound from Noob Dragoon with the Legend Lord Commander assisting them. He's sitting down here against the commander in the lower section while those two forces duke it out on the plateau. A couple of Ilshis online. There are a decent amount of strikers, and it looks like more and more units are being dropped off by Legend Lord to cut down on the time it takes for units to walk, trundle, roll, whatever word you want to use, travel over there. And of course, if he doesn't have a facility on that plateau, then he has to actually transport them up there, which of course takes a little bit of time. But it does cut down on the travel time in terms of course, quote unquote, walking across the map. There's a nice dual firebase coming online in the middle here with Squealer and Noob Dragoon. Noob Dragoon has not left this position. He reclaimed over here, and that was about it. He's kind of been sitting here the entire game, which essentially has locked out the middle of the map for both of these teams. Neither of them really trying to engage the middle of the map. It's essentially just no man's land. There's one or two mexes. That's really about it. Most of the fighting is occurring on the southwestern lane or the northeastern lane. And Team 2's Prince of Wrath has pushed severely into Team 1's territory and actually getting all the way behind Master Mandel's base. That's probably due to the fact that Just Q left, but there was only so much he could do with, of course, Tomb Commander sitting here, very much pressuring the top section of Team 1's main bases. I do notice that there is a T3 air headquarters online for Just Q, and there isn't one yet here for first one to die, and he was not actually the first one to die. So there's going to be 2 air players, actually, excuse me, 3 air players for Team 1. That could be a way that Team 1, just accelerates their ability to fight Team 2. Team 2, of course, even with the loss of MSG, the highest rated player on Team 2, of course, in one of their comms in general, it puts them at a 6v5 disadvantage. But look how much territory they have. The entire eastern edge of the map and almost halfway across the middle of the map as well, going vertically. Huge group of units outbound to the north. Does Team 1 notice this? They notice some of those radar signatures. Those Mantis are inbound. I think I saw some Medusa in the mix. There are Medusa back here designed to take out structures and units and whatever not that's not moving. Couple of PD are being built very, very quickly by some engineers. Those will save a lot of damage from Team 2's incoming forces, but there is a couple of mobile artillery here, so a couple of mexes will die, unfortunately, for Just Q. But luckily he was able to quickly respond to this. T2 Renegades are online out of this T3 air headquarters that has just been upgraded. And that will do a lot of work with dealing with the rest of these forces. I love that play outbound from Prince of Wrath. Just send everything that he had. Wasn't really worried about if he was going to make a lot of damage or not, or make a lot of noise. But he's taken out. Oh, one more shot. One more shot. We'll take out a T2 Mechs. Looks like those Medusa a little bit out of range, unfortunately. but it still distracted Team 1 a decent amount, so that's something. In the middle, it is Master Mandel forcing back Yerfmeister now. Master Mandel now has the first of 2 shield upgrades on board that commander, and there's now an outpouring of units outbound from both Prince of Wrath, who is taking command of the structure, and forces from MSG, and also those forces from Yerfmeister surrounding Master Mandel, dropping hit points very, very quickly. Has already taken out the shield overcharges, try to slow down the amount of DPS that's incurring on that commander. He might make it out of range. He may or may not. He's fallen below 6,000 hit points. First one to die comes to assist with a stealth and gun commander. Mongi still in range, though, targeting Master Mandel. Will get a rank in veterancy, pretty much not necessarily to save his life, but does a huge amount of work in protecting his own life. And we do see some T3 units emerging for Prince of Wrath. Of course, he does have dual base now, but that was really close. Master Mandel now just re-pushing again. He's back up to almost 10,000 hit points, regenerating at 40 and 30 respectively for the shield and for the hull and the shield hit points. And those Mongis and other units being just constantly blitzed down by all of those overcharges. These are constantly regenerating just so many shots. It does a lot of work, especially when you have a high energy bar. You can really blitz down even experimentals quite quickly. We do see first one to die on a transport. Definitely a risky play, but he is in his own territory, and Team 2 does not have air control, so he can fly around the map, at least part of the map, without a huge issue. We do see in the southwest, both of the commanders that were down here have now moved to the plateau, and Team 2 is just, not just Lord, but Legend Lord 2 just killed off RGB, dropping this game to a 5v5. And it looks like possibly RGB tried to walk forward. A lot of those units were killed off, but it looks like he tried to push. There's a bunch of PD, either T1 or T2, and really blitzed down those hit points, and then Legend Lord just came in and just walked him down and killed him. And that is really big here for Team 2, being able to secure the southwestern side. But now, first one to die goes, oh, well, my teammate died. I'm just going to sit here and assist. And he's actually going to walk forward. I would not recommend that. He has no support. He has a couple of friendly units, and he goes, nah, I'm good. Never mind. Oh, RGB asking what's going on with that. I mean, he is the rearguard air slot player. I don't know what he's... He's talking about how he didn't have any support, possibly? No idea. I don't know what is. It doesn't give any indication of why he's upset, other than just what the heck. We do see some bricks emerging here for Team 2's Prince of Wrath over here. Just Q nearby with a gun upgrade. We'll be able to overcharge that pretty easily, drop it down, decent chunk of hit points, and then be able to reduce it to ashes pretty shortly. Master Mandel being highly aggressive. I got to give it to this guy. He is not leaving. He's like, I will die on this hill, or in this case, flat territory, and just will either push back Team 2 or die. That's essentially what he's given himself, those two options. Those are the only two options he will take. His shield is almost back. Actually, his shield is back online, but it will go offline pretty quickly if he keeps standing there. All those missiles coming in constantly. We do see some Titans and some Loyalists online, and a couple of bricks as well. Master Mandel should probably start retreating. He has a lot of Obsidians to protect him and kind of just eat up some damage, but those units are inbound. Loyalists are catching up. Titans being reclaimed by nearby engineers. That's never a fun thing to do, but Loyalists are inbound, actually EMPing those units, making them essentially paperweights. And those Loyalists are going to get a kill. That's what they want. They're hungry for it. They have missile redirect systems on board. Master Mandel isn't deploying those systems in terms of missile launcher platforms. It looks like those Loyalists will retreat. Master Mandel needs to be very careful. Another attack like that, or a counterattack by Team 2, could kill him. Just be very careful. In the southwest, Team 2's Legend Lord gets killed off by some gunships outbound from first one to die. First one to die is in range of some PD. He's dropping below 1,300. Those PD will be transferred over to somebody else, and he does barely get out of range. We do see some interceptors on the way, and ASF as well. And first one to die, very risky play. It looks like he just kind of assaulted Team 2's Legend Lore, and with, of course, those gunships assisting, and that was just enough to kill him off. It is now a 5v4 in favor of Team 1, and at 21 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock, let's take a look at the game overall. As stated, Team 1 has lost RGB, Team 2 has lost just recently Legend Lord 2 and MSG, making this a 5v4. Team 1 sitting at less than 50% of the map. Team 2 sitting at, I mean, probably 60%, so that makes Team 1 about 40%. Kind of hard to exactly, like, I'm going to measure, you know, this, you know, like, it's kind of hard. I kind of give averages about where, just kind of idea of how much territory does Team 1 versus Team 2 have, and does that make a difference? It does in some places. In the, you know, up here in the Northeast, they have another Trimex and another Trimex that technically belong to Team 1. But besides that, the middle of the map doesn't really matter. The southwestern corner of the map doesn't really matter until you get to this side of that plateau. So having a little bit more map control helps, but not by much. In terms of ecos overall, Team 1 sitting at 900 mass income. Team 2 looks like they're suffering some power issues. They were sitting at 1,000. They're back up to 1,000. Looks like they're trying to correct that possibly. So about 100 mass more in Team 2's coffers than Team 1 per second. And that is a decent amount, but it can switch. Team 1 could just be, of course, waiting for their T3 mexes to be upgraded, so that could just be what they're waiting for. So that differential can switch very, very quickly, or it could not. We see Team 2 actually showing 1.1 ever so slightly once in a while, so it's probably about 1.05 or 1.05 mass income. There it is, 1.1. But let me know down in the comments who you think is going to currently win this game. And as always, if you haven't done so already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so very much for watching. I really do appreciate all of the attention and the time and the effort you give to watch, to comment, to subscribe, to continually come back, even though I miss stuff and I may say things wrong in terms of pronunciations of names. So thank you for your patience and all of your support. We do see a large amount of missiles outbound from Team 2. Looks like some from Noob Dragoon, but he also has some Aloha T2 stationary missile launchers. I always want to say mobile missile launchers because I say that a lot. And he's firing that at Team 1's upper plateau bases. A nice little stealth field generator. Team 2 obviously knows what's going on over here because they're flying over there with some spy planes. But there are a decent amount of TMD, so those missiles are kind of essentially going into the void. There's not really a whole lot. But a T4 experimental Colossus unit is online, staring some bricks in the face, saying hello and pushing them back just by its mere presence of being there. Would not be surprised to see Master Mandel gain control of that unit, but at least for the time being, it is under the control of I Make War on You. And some gunship support also coming in from First One to Die. I do like the fact that he is assisting quite heavily with gunships. We see that Just Q focusing on ASF and his teammate, of course, who's that? Just Awesome, also focusing on ASF. So you have two players focusing ASF, one player focusing gunship. It does a lot to be able to attack both ground and air units, especially with the Whalers being a little combination of both. It's a nice little, let's say, happy medium between broadswords and restorers. But they, honestly, Whalers are a good gunship. I will say that. I think they're a good gunship. Obviously, I think all the T3s are good, just depending on what you use them for, but that's a nice overall, like, rounded out gunship. We do see some Titans trying to force themselves forward on that Galactic Colossus. Lots of boggies in the mix here, and there are some artillery pieces as well, but they're being bombarded by Master Mandel. Team 2's Jerfmeister has retreated, and now we see some Loyalist answer bricks occur, and they're starting to make their appearance as well. Huge amount of fervors in this mixer for Master Mandel. Everything that is a structure will be and staying still are going to be destroyed. Look at that, just carnage that's wreaking havoc. Wreaking havoc? Wreaking havoc. I always want to say it the wrong way the first time on this phase. That Colossus is just going to stand there and receive fire after fire after fire. Does get a rank in veterancy, sitting at 109,998 hit points. That is the one thing I feel like the developers are like, hey, let's just keep it at 99,999 just for the memes of the fact that it just can't have that 1 HP. Galactic Colossus is dropping into the red, sub 8,000. He will die here after getting a rank in veterancy, but the damage was done. Oh, a Noob Dragoon does get killed off by Just Awesome. While I'm focusing on this land battle, that Colossus does die. Right, man. Sorry, says Squealer. Looks like it was probably... What's up here? Looks like it was either Corsairs, possibly. Let's see. He is a Seraphim, so those would have either been not the fighter bombers or gunships. Those look like they are those Volthu gunships. Looks like he just got blitzed down. Yeah, I don't see any 1,000 wrecks, so that's definitely gunships. And that will drop this game to a 5v3 in favor of Team 1. Team 2 has now lost half of their players. Team 1 has only lost one. We see in the north a couple of bricks are walking Just Q down. Just Q gets a rank in veterancy at a crucial moment, but is still dropping into the red quite significantly. I think he will die from this kill off another brick, and there he goes. Team 2 gets a little bit of revenge, and that is now a 4v3 in favor of Team 1. Team 1 has lost a third of their players before 30 minutes. And with that Fat Boy online, Master Mandel probably should retreat. He's killed off 27,000 mass with that Aeon Sniper Commander. And that is a lot of mass to kill off for any commander. Obviously, it's a little low if you're going for a UEF Billy Nuke commander. But in general, 27,000 is a lot. We see some bombers inbound just bombing, running constantly against Team 1. We're seeing not a lot of ASF support over here, or even some AA flak, mobile or stationary. Bricks moving in. One of them going to get essentially one-shotted by that overcharge. The second one will probably be focused on by that second overcharge. Will be outbound from that gun from the Master Mandel. Bombers raining down around Master Mandel's ACU, and we do see some ASFs coming in to clear the skies. Master Mandel will be forced back. He'll be dropped into the yellow. He is sitting at already 5-star veterancy, so no additional hit points unless he builds the heavy shield upgrade, or shield heavy, as it's, I don't know why it's shield heavy instead of heavy shield. You would think that it would just be written that way, but I don't know. I'm not the one that wrote the text files or whatever for this game. We do see a decent amount of engineers on board some Illuminar T2 air transports. Going to be going after this position. There is a Team 1 AA. Will not take out the transports before they drop their cargo. There's a ton of engineers. They're going to spam up some T1 point defense. I don't really know what they're doing. It looks like they might try to establish a nice little foothold on this plateau. But I feel like there is already some Mantis rolling around. They'll kill off a decent amount of those engineers. Going to spam up some T1 land facilities. Be able to protect themselves and build more of themselves. But there are some bombers moving in. And we do see that Team 1's Master Mandel is killed off by some units outbound from Prince of Wrath. Looks like it was his loyalist that he sent in, but that Fat Boy definitely assisted a lot, dropping this game now to a 3v3 tied up game before 30 minutes, meaning Team 1 has now lost half of their starting players. And coincidentally enough, Team 1 has 3 of their comms out in the open. Team 2 has 1 comm in the water with 2 of them out. I say out in the open, meaning they're not, in the water or underneath a bunch of shields. But we see a huge expansion of air grids going down here for Squealer, building some SMD coverage as well. And it looks like Prince of Wrath inheriting essentially every base that a fallen teammate has quote-unquote gifted over to Prince of Wrath. I feel like he could shift some of these bases over to most likely Yerfmeister just to kind of spread the wealth a little bit. But he's sitting at 1.2k income himself, which usually indicates at some point he's going to he's going to go for mass SACU spam, either RASCOMs or combatant preset commanders, or he's going to build an experimental T4 game ender. That would either be a Scathis, or he could build a UEF one, so that's a Mavor, or he could build a Seraphim one if he really decides to, of the YOLO. We do see that second Colossus has come to guard the wreck of his fallen comrade, and a decent reclaim field as well to boot. Team 1 and Team 2 have 100,000 mass to scoop up in reclaim. Team 2 doing a very good job on the southwestern side, pushing back Team 1 on this upper plateau. Looks like both of the teams ignoring the lower plateau and just kind of fighting on the upper, and that's mainly due to the presence of the mexes. Had it been, a couple of mixes down here, a couple of mixes over there, and it kind of been kind of a nice little mirror of the upper and the lower plateaus, there'd be more fighting down here. But even if there were, I feel like both teams would concentrate on the upper plateau, because you can easily build T2 PD on the ridgeline, T2 artillery, you can build T3 mobile artillery, even T2 mobile missile launchers. You can build a lot of stuff that can fire down which makes life a lot easier. We do see a nice grouping of gunships being built by Prince of Wrath as well. He's looking for a snipe, it feels like. The only player he could realistically snipe right now would be first one to die. There's some shield coverage for Make War on You. He has built a Apocalypse Nuke launcher, T3 strategic missile launcher in his base. Team 2, do they know of its existence? No, they don't. Fast scout for SMD/Nuke, so there is a comment saying, hey, you should probably scout. Just awesome. Looks like he's focusing on air production / mechs, not mechs, but mass expansion in terms of generation. And now we see that Team 1's rearguard sub player, first one to die, has now been gifted over another base. One producing ASFs, one producing Strat Bombers. We're looking for a snipe on his side of the map. We might go after the Fat Boy. There's not a lot of AA. I don't see a lot of AA for either of these teams, which is not necessarily disappointing, but I would like to see a little bit more of either T2 or T3. At least T2 just to take care of the gunship threat, because I mean both teams know about gunships. Like that's not a obviously they played the game for a while, they know that gunships are a threat, whatever the case may be. But specifically we've seen 2 kills in this game by Team 1 by gunship. So I feel like a lot of T2 mobile flag or even T3, essentially mobile AA would be definitely beneficial for both teams, not necessarily just for Team 2, but Team 1 in general. Nuke is outbound. There is an SMD. It was just built, which means it is not loaded. And we can actually see the shadow of the missile inbound. I think that's the first time I've noticed that. And there it goes. It's going to land in that air grid. We do see that Just Awesome trying to build a RAS upgrade just to assist in resource production. Once the destruction of this base has commenced, and kaboom! Everything but a T3 Pigeon has been destroyed. Also, 3 of the 4 core mechs have also been destroyed. And that is a kaboom. And that is a huge win for Team 2. That was the first nuke of the game. Team 1 has their own nuke launcher. It is about to be loaded. Does Team 2 have adequate protection? No, not for this one. Oh, no. Well, there's an... Oh, nope, there you go. It's an SMD over there. Never mind. SMD is built but not loaded. SMD is built and loaded. So maybe the air grid might be a target for Make War on You to go after. But besides that... I mean, he could go for the rear guard air as well. It just depends if that SMD loads quick enough or if that nuke fires as fast as it's loaded, as soon as it's loaded. If there's any delay between loading and firing, that might give Team 2 just enough time to load and construct that SMD missile. Of course, we do see that Colossus pushing forward against some Percy's and a Fat Boy that's been sitting here for a while. And unfortunately, that Colossus does fall for Team 1. Second Colossus still hasn't been... Well, first Colossus hasn't been reclaimed. Second Colossus will soon be reclaimed by Team 2. Now we're seeing some inclusion of mobile flag by Yerfmeister, building them, I think, on board the Fat Boy. Obviously, I'd love to see that because the Fat Boy is an amazing unit in this game. Has, of course, sieging capabilities, can build their own units very easily. You don't have to build these little eggs that the Megalith does. Or lay eggs. I think lay eggs would be the better way to put it. But it's a lot friendlier of a mobile factory, as is the name of the experimental. I don't know why it's not mobile, artillery, and factory. I think the name would have been too long, or description would have been too long, so they just shortened it to factory. Which, I don't know if this is a controversial opinion or not, but if you've ever played Supreme Commander 2, the Fat Boy in that game, the design wasn't bad. I will say that. They kind of gutted a lot of the essentially the mid and leg section, essentially making it essentially like an X. I kind of liked it. There's one mission in particular I can think about where you just pump out Fat Boys. I think that's where you get introduced to the Fat Boy, but that one didn't have a shield from what I remember. This one does, so this one obviously is the far superior choice. And I cannot remember if the Fat Boy was also a mobile factory. It's been 15 plus years since I played Supreme Commander 2, so I don't know. Nuke outbound from Team 1 does get shot down. Second nuke outbound from Team 2 will not get shot down. SMD was rebuilt, and some ASFs are flying. They should be out of range. Some of them might get cinched. 2 of them do. And kaboom! A second base has been destroyed for Just Awesome. He is really suffering this game. in terms of who to be targeted by nukes. But the SMD does survive, though, so that is a nice little benefit. But still, there's no support around it. He's probably really suffering in power generation. Oh, he's fine, but he's not doing great. He needs to build more T3 pigeons, which, of course, he's going to build with some ARAS that'll kind of solve his problem quite quickly, and it's actually going to solve it right now. You can see that goes significantly up because you had to build the upgrade, and then you get more from the upgrade, so it works out. But Team 2 has established a nice little front line with a bunch of Titans, a couple of Percys. Love to see it. Wish the mix was flipped where these were all Percys and all the Percys were Titans. But that's just me being a fanboy of the Percy unit. It is, in my opinion, the best T3 unit in the game, especially for taking out large units of other T3 units, or specifically T4 units, which I feel like is what they were designed to be used against anyways, because they just fire so much. I mean, they don't fire so much, but they do a lot of damage per shot and makes a huge difference. ASF swarming around Team 1's front line. We do see a nice little satellite moving into view. Looks like it might be going after this base here that was once Master Mendel's. Third Colossus is on, Colossus, I should say, there's only one of them, is online. Bunch of transports have been built. Don't know why they're being built, but they are. Nuke is about to load once again. And Scathis has been started by I Make War on You. It was just started, so Team 2 is not going to know about it right now. But if they have spy plane or air scout missions going on, they will hear pretty shortly. Gunships in the east going after some of Team 2's exposed mass extractors. An ASF fight work will commence. I think it's the first major one of the game, unless I missed the other one. Nuke outbound once again from I Make War on You. And it's going over here. Going to target those dual Fat Boys. Love the use of that, the placement of that nuke, because it's going to most likely kill off one, if not both of them. This one's struggling to turn around. Second, actually third nuke outbound from Team 2's Prince of Wrath, going after this upper plateau. They know about the SMD down here, so they're not going to bother with that. They're going to go after a nice little AA base. Kaboom! Does take out one of those Fat Boys and the wreck as well. One of them does make it out of there. Had that Fat Boy not taken 30 minutes to turn around, it probably would have gotten out of range, but Team 2 loses half of their attack power, both in T3, T2, and of course T4 units. Nuke will land, going to take out most of this plateau. Kaboom! Does miss that T3 mass extractor, but it does grab pretty much everything else except a couple of outlying T3 Transcender SAM site launchers. So that upper plateau base has essentially been destroyed. I mean, there's a couple of remnants, but not close to what it was early on. And the TMD is down, which means these tactical missile launchers, with these being one of them, could actually come in and just start taking out the rest of that base up there. We do see an outpouring of Harbingers coming on the field here from Team 1's I Make War on You, trying to push and kill that fatty. But there are a decent amount of Team 1 bombers. Team 2's not really spending that much time on just building a bunch of ASF. They are building ASF, but they're not mass producing them like we normally see in games like these, where you see just an outpouring of ASF. They have okay, there's units on transports. Okay, I was wondering what that was. We have 28 ASFs in the Cybern variety, and looks like that's it. And then for Squealer, we have an additional 46. So, and then some ASF in terms of Seraphim. So we're seeing about probably 120 for Team 2, and they're starting to airlock Team 1. Team 1 sitting on not a whole lot, 7 ASFs. And first one to die, Control K. He's been airlocked. There's not really a whole lot he can do. At least that's what he feels. So he is going to Control K and gift everything over to his teammate of I Make War on You, which can increase his eco production. But Team 1 sitting at 1.3 mass income, 3K income. Team 2 at 2.3, 2.4, almost doubling that of Team 1. And Team 2 does notice the Scathis is being built. That could be the game changer that wins the game for Team 1. I was kind of surprised that Team 2 didn't start any sort of experimental game ender themselves, but they do have a nuke launcher, which has been highly effective at taking out one specific target of Just Awesome. And Just Awesome has pumped out a ton of T3 units and a chicken, T4 experimental assault bot, and that is a lot. That is a lot of Othams.
Strategic launch detected.
That is a 69 Othams, 70 now. We do see a couple of Ilshis, a decent amount of shields, 20 mobile shields, as well as I saw some lightning tanks in this mix. 21 lightning tanks as well, so it has AA covered, also is protecting against some hit point damages from just any source, as well as, of course, just a outpouring of tanks. And this middle of the map has essentially been ignored by both teams, so I do like that Team 1 is using it as an avenue for attack. Unfortunately, it does expose a little bit of Team 1's defenses on the western side, with the plateau suffering a little bit, and now the lower section of the map with a Fat Boy, actually, excuse me, 2 Fat Boys. Are they producing units? No, they're not. Nuke does land in the base that once belonged to Master Mandel. Kaboom! Takes out more eco for Team 1. And that red wave is inbound. Team 2 has some gunships online. They are broadswords are going to target the chicken first, but there is a decent amount of lightning tanks nearby. And there they go, just ripping apart those gunships pretty quickly. Of course, as I say, always, I would like to see a little bit more AA. You can never have too much AA. You can never have too much shield coverage. Those are, I think, essentially the two things you can never have enough of. I mean, when you have like 20 chickens, I think you have enough chickens as an example, and I guess there'll be those people in the comments be like, no, you can never have enough chickens. I might be like, well, fair, but still, we do see a couple of combatant preset commanders online. Unfortunately, I mean, they do have a decent amount of hit points, but they're being blitzed down very, very quickly by the Othams and the chicken. Brascoms can be taken out. They just need a lot of damage to be done so, especially the Cybern ones that regen crazy amounts per second. It's insane how much they regen. They essentially just took a playbook out of the Seraphim main ACU and went, yeah, we'll do that, and just put a bunch of hit points and a bunch of regen and call it a day. Essentially make them a unkillable tank, essentially. But this chicken, with a bunch of its awesome support, is reaching the base of, I think this is what, Legend Lore, I think, was over here. So I think this was, who was that? Was that Nuke Dragoon? Nuke Dragoon was over here. And that chicken will get in. It's going to be close, though. All of the SAC is focusing the chicken, and the chicken will die, but all of the T3 units, most of them at least, will make it to the main base. Fat Boy is retreating. Second one has just come off the line. Is there another nuke somewhere attacking the southwest, continuing to push northward? Team 1 is losing territory as they're destroying territory for Team 2. A couple of AA units over here kind of just running around the map. And here come the Othams going after T3 P-Gens, trying to get nice volatile explosions. Quantum Gateways going offline. Massive Fabricator also be a nice target. And of course, those lightning tanks constantly coming in to assist with dealing with any sort of incoming reinforcements in the air department. And Nuke is loaded, gonna fire once again. Is at 191,000 mass killed. That's YOLO levels of mass killed. Scathis has been completed by Team 1's IMEC needs more shield coverage, immediately building as Colossus. It is important because there are units inbound. Strap bombers are also inbound, trying to target the shields, trying to lower it just enough for the satellites to take over it. It's not going to be enough, unfortunately. The Scathis will survive at least a little bit longer, but there are 2 Fat Boys inbound. More Strap bombers also inbound, targeting the Scathis directly. Shields are falling. They're trying to be assisted, but I don't think it's going to be enough. The shields are barely going to come offline, and more Strap bombers come in. And there goes the Scathis for Team 1's I Make War on You. And now the Novaxes, once they're done with recharging, they'll probably target all of the emitters for I Make War on You, essentially making it impossible to establish a nice protective bubble around his stuff. Unfortunately, that nuke is... Oh, no, shield does come back offline. They're targeting the SMDs, looking like they're going to take out Team 1 with just nukes, which, I mean, that is a good idea. And it's always a good idea to take out the SMDs in general, because you could trick your opponent into thinking you're going for a nuke when you don't have a nuke. But it's doubly important if you're like, well, I have a nuke. I could just destroy you with a nuke if I take out your SMD, so I'm just going to do that. That Colossus is trying to chase down those 2 Fat Boys. Fat Boys are in full retreat, but of course they can fire while moving, and they can fire backwards as well, unlike the Salem T2 Destroyer, which it's one of those little blurbs that are, whenever you load in the game, they have one of those like tips, essentially. That's one of those things. And the Fat Boys do take out that Colossus. They're going to probably turn back around and go northward. Spamming of Team 1 bombers are inbound to take out those Fat Boys. There is some AA in this mix, and I think more being built as we speak. Love to see that. Both of them actually building it, so they're going to rip apart those bombers inbound. We see a missile launcher shooting something over here. Oh, is that artillery or missiles? Those are missiles. Those are missiles. There's 8 of them in there. But the nuke will land. Kaboom. Won't take out a whole lot, but we'll do at least a little bit of opening the front door for Team 2 down the middle. Huge amount of spy planes are outbound from I Make War on You, trying to just see what he can see on this side of the map. Team 2 obviously expects that to be something else, but I mean, when you see that many units, you expect gunships, ASF, bombers, something, but this ensures that you know what's going on the other side of the map. Strong bombers moving northward here for Squealer, and also a nice little contingent here for Prince of Wrath. We do see a nice little monkey lord escorted by some Percy's moving westward. Team 1 is losing territory ever so quickly, and just slowly being closed about. You can see a bunch of AA being spammed about, trying to surround Team 1's Imekwarn-U's base. He has another nuke about to be loaded and is building another Scathus. And he's going to start reclaiming the old one to fuel the new one. Shields are starting to fall. There are 3 satellites overhead here, and Titans and Percys do make it into the base here for Just Awesome. He loses nice little mass fab here, but he has tons of T2 laser PD of the Utashala variety, really doing a great job in dealing with the rest of those units. They won't do anything against the Fat Boy, but the rest of the pressure from him have taken out both the Fat Boys, or about to take both the Fat Boys out for Team 2's Prince of Wrath. So that attack does fizzle out. Well, no, bombers are going after something else. Looks like the ASF's here from Team 2 Squealer. Strap bombers come in, take out some shields around Imekwarn-U. Lasers are going to target the commander, trying to take him out. Looks like they're going to target either the P-Gens or the emitters. Looks like they're targeting the emitters. P-Gens are being targeted as well. And looks like Imekwarn-U and his teammate of Just Awesome will recall from the game, making this a win for Team 2. And, I mean, the writing was on the wall. Once that Scoutess was killed off, I mean, I wouldn't say that's necessarily the game, but without any sort of shield coverage, that would have been it. Squealer did okay. I like how Squealer in chat said Squealer did okay, which I think Squealer did a very good job. He did a very good job in air, as well as, of course, Prince of Wrath. They both just pummeled Team 1 quite enough to be able to gain air dominance and then just punish and punish and punish with strap bombers. But we did see some really good air plays from Team 1, specifically from First One to Die, killing off Legend Lore in the south, and then I think it was Just Awesome who built the gunships that killed off, I think that was Noob Dragoon that got killed off here. I mean, 2 kills with gunships. Team 1 did a very good job, but just they didn't prioritize ASF production as much as they probably should. They lost air control, or possibly didn't really have it entirely to begin with, because I wasn't keep tracking of ASF the entire game. And then Team 2 just kind of ran ASFs in and called it ASF bombers in. They also airlocked Team 1 for a little bit of time, so it gave them time to build up those strap bombers. But even if those strap bombers weren't going to be the thing that ended Team 2, there was a decent land army outbound from Yerfmeister trying to assault this base. Those Fat Boys would have come in, taken out all of the AA. We probably would have seen Imekwarn-U build some artillery to counteract that. But that might have been too late at that point. But I think the players overall did a very good job. Let me know down in the comments who you think deserves MVP for this game. MVP, if I can speak correctly. I think it's a tough pick between Prince of Wrath and Squealer. Both of them did a very good job. Yerfmeister had a great opening play. His teammate got killed off, but he held pretty far forward for a long time. So, I mean, early play definitely goes to both Yerfmeister and MSG for just holding that position for as long as they did. But I think Prince of Wrath ekes out just barely ahead of Squealer, only because he managed so much. He did a great job also pushing in the south as well. You know, Team 1 attacked down the middle. They did a decent job with this outbound from Just Awesome. They did a decent amount of work. Couldn't get super far into the nuke, but they took out a base at a minimum. And then, of course, Team 2 attacked at the same time. So essentially one of those, how much can I damage you and how much can you damage me? Instead of Prince of Wrath saying, oh, we're being assaulted down the main, the main line, I'm going to retreat, try to intercept. He's like, I'm just going to send them in, see what they can do. We'll take the losses as much, as little as we can. But I think Prince of Wrath deserves MVP for this game. Let me know down in the comments if you felt the same way or not. And, of course, if you haven't done so already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so very much for watching to the end of the video. And I will see all of you in the next one.